Good morning, I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Welcome to a special edition of Morning Light.
A retired Central Pennsylvania principal is known for her bravery, her determination, and her faith.
Norina Bentzel was confronted with evil and she reacted. She believes God guided and directed her actions. February 2nd, 2001, Groundhog Day. Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, 6 more weeks of winter. But inside North Hopewell, Winterstown Elementary School in York County, students were thinking of warmer weather. It was beach day, a day that was supposed to be filled with fun, turned into a day filled with tragedy when 55-year-old Michael Stankowicz entered the school with a machete and hurt 11 students and 3 staff members, including the principal. Norina Bentzel, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Let's go back to February 2nd, 2001.
Sure. I mean, it was Groundhog Day that day, and I, got up in the morning just like a normal day. These things kind of, happen out of the blue, so you think it's a normal day. But it was different this day, that morning, because I was putting on my black jeans, my sneakers, my Bethany Beach sweatshirt, because it was beach day at our school. And it was a dress down day, so I got to dress down that day. So that was different. But when I got to school, I mean, everything was very normal until about close to lunchtime. It was about 11:23. My cafeteria lady was going to be in the cafeteria by herself with all the students, and the fact that it was beach day and they were going to be in their beach hats and their sunglasses and all their beach attire, pretending that it was a sunny, bright, and hot day outside in February here in Pennsylvania. But she was going to be by herself, so I thought, well, I'm going to go over there and help her if I can. And so I did leave my office, and I got just to the threshold of the door in my office, and a message came pounding in my head: stop and turn around, go back to your desk and pick up the phone. And so I looked at the clock, glanced at the clock, exactly 11:23 a.m. I thought, well, I have 2 minutes before the cafeteria lunch shift starts, and so I went back to my desk, picked up the phone, and called my son. He was a kindergartner at the babysitter's getting ready for his afternoon kindergarten session. So I talked to him briefly, but what that did with me is got me to the window at my office, and that overlooked the very front of my school building. And at that particular time, I saw a man trying to kind of tug on a door that was permanently locked. You couldn't get in. And that started to put questions in my mind. So I thought, well, I'm heading to the cafeteria. I will go help him if I can. So I went out to the lobby area, thought he would be there, and he was nowhere to be found. So I thought, well, he knew what he was doing and found who he was looking for, perhaps, so I'll just keep going to the cafeteria. It took a couple more steps, and another message just kept kind of resonating in my brain: stop and turn around, look down the hallway. So I did. I turned around, and when I did, I saw him standing outside our kindergarten classroom. Well, as a principal, you know that parents are not permitted to go in our hallways without a badge. And he didn't have a badge because I just had come out of the office and he was not there. So I thought, well, I need to go help him because, again, he must be a grandfather looking for his grandchild, maybe had never been to our school, and I need to go help him. So I proceeded then down the hallway where I had just come. The very first classroom next to our main office area is the kindergarten classroom. So he was standing outside that room, just kind of looking in the door from the hallway. And when I approached him about 4 feet away from him, I said, "Excuse me, sir, is there someone I can help you find?" He turned around and looked at me and immediately pulled out from his left pant leg a 2-foot-long machete. Yeah, and he started attacking me at my head. So all I had was my bare hands, and so I was trying just to protect my head, basically. And
Could you believe this was happening?
It was not. It was out of the experience, obviously, in our school. And I yelled 3 things to him. I yelled, "No, call 911, lock down, hoping that there was someone in my environment that could do that. At that moment, though, I will tell you, I felt like I was in a black tunnel, just he and I together, and it was just the two of us. There were many people in my school, obviously, but that's the way my mind was kind of registering things at that moment in time. But I remember thinking, he has a piece of wood. I thought it was a piece of wood. And he was kind of coming with me as he was trying to attack my head. And I thought, you know, this is good. Get away from that classroom. Keep coming with me and keep backing up. And so he did. He stayed with me as I'm kind of protecting my head. When we got about to the office area where I had originally come out of, he stopped and took a stance, like maybe a fencing pose. And he took his machete and took it right across the midsection of my body. At that moment, I kind of flinched and jumped back. I had a key card hanging on my neck. It was my identification card, a little piece of plastic, about 2.5 by 3 inch piece of plastic. And when the machete hit me right in the stomach area, my key card was hanging in the exact spot where the machete hit. So
Divine intervention.
Absolutely. In fact, you know, there's 2 messages. I considered those divine intervention. I consider this divine intervention. A couple other things happened as things progressed. But after he did that, I was just bruised. My key card shattered. He took off and ran from me. I did not know where he was going to go, but I just knew that I needed to lock down my school. So I ran into the office area. I was very close to where the buttons are to lock down the school. We had practiced it just 1 month for the first time, 1 month before this happened, and thought we would never need it, but at least we had that practice in. And so when he ran from me, though, he ran directly into the kindergarten classrooms.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I couldn't get the lockdown fast enough for them. So at that point, I'm in the office, locking down the building. And of course, my nurse was in the office with me. And she had seen some of what was going on in the hallway, and she had got the children that were in the office and a mother who was there with her 2 preschool children. She got them into a bathroom, a large bathroom in the back of the health room. About that time, I see the kindergarten teacher heading in the doorway of the office. She propped the door open, and many kindergartners were kind of filing in front of her. I knew she was injured. Blood was dripping down her, actually her right hand. And he was chasing them.
Wow.
So those kiddos went into the health room as well and into that bathroom with the mother. My nurse told the mother to close the door and lock it. And about that time, I started heading into the health room. The kindergarten teacher was getting in there just before me. I was the last one in. We tried to close the door, and in his rage, he pushed the door open. For the second time then, he came in. I was at the knob side of the door. My kindergarten teacher was at the hinge side of the door, so she went behind the door. I went in front of the door, and he came in on me and started attacking me for the second time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and this attack was more brutal than the one in the hallway. So he kept trying again, trying to strike my head. I had my left arm in front of my right arm in a crisscross position, and so I got a lot of injuries on my left hand and arm in that particular battle that we had. For some reason then, he turned away from me. Either the nurse and my kindergarten teacher were kind of trying to sneak out behind him to get out that door, or according to the mother, who was just closing that bathroom door with all those kids in there, saw me starting to fall over into the medicine cabinet, which was right beside me. For whatever reason, he turned away from me at the first time without having the machete kind of at my face. I yelled to my teacher and nurse, "Help me get him down." I jumped on his back, and I heard the best noise in the world, and that was clink. So clink, to me, meant that he dropped his weapon. And that was important. Because as I'm hanging on his back, we kind of moved over to the nurse's desk. He kind of went down on one knee And so I wrapped my arms around him and held him, basically to comfort him. I wanted to calm him down. I told him, relax, it's over. As I'm scanning the room for this weapon that I could not see, when I did yell for my nurse and kindergarten teacher to come in, they both came back in. And when they did, the machete was kind of laying at their feet. My nurse picked it up, took it out into the lobby area and hid it under a bench.
Where did you find the strength to do this?
You know, I was just reacting to everything that was going on, and I don't know where the strength came from. I'm almost convinced that it was a God thing, that I was just being given a lot of strength and a lot of courage to do what had to be done to protect the students and my staff and stay alive. So, but after that, there was another piece of divine intervention that really happened that was kind of the climax of the whole thing. When I jumped on his back, it was the most unusual thing I have ever felt. I was holding onto his back, and I could feel the life from his body transfer to my body. Started about here, and I could feel it just drain the whole way down my body. It went down my legs, went to my feet, and then just kind of disappeared. It was the most unusual thing I have ever felt. And after that, and we were over at the nurse's desk, he really didn't have much energy. He didn't really try to struggle. He was like comatose and in a staring state at that point. But when I was looking for the weapon, I had looked down, I saw that I was bleeding profusely and was in pretty bad shape, and I thought, there's nothing else I can do. I can't find the weapon anywhere, so I just have to let go and walk away. And so I did. I walked away. I think I went out into the hallway just initially because I turned around, kind of realized I didn't want to be there, turned around, and he moved back a couple of feet and sat in on a chair outside the big bathroom where the mother and the, about 8 children were. And he was just staring straight ahead. It was kind of like he was looking past me. And then, it was basically, he never moved after that. When the police arrived, he was still sitting in that chair, not moving.
God was certainly with you, with
100%.
the entire school that day.
100%.
Police charged Michael Stankowicz with 39 offenses, including 2 counts of homicide, 16 counts of aggravated assault, and 1 count of having a weapon on school property.
In November 2001, Stankowicz was sentenced to 132 to 264 years in prison, one of the longest prison sentences in York County history for a non-murder charge. The attack left 11 students hurt, 3 staff members, with the principal being the most seriously injured.
And Norina shares the next step in her journey, working through the physical and emotional trauma. Norina, your injuries were severe. You talked about them. How did you heal physically?
I had significant injuries in my hands and then also in my left arm. My right hand, I had a partially amputated thumb, which my surgeon believes happened in the hallway because of the angle of the cut. He believes I tried to grab the machete and get it away from him in the hallway. I don't remember that, but it's possible that that did happen. The majority of the rest of my injuries basically were on this arm, and this happened, I would think, in the health room. My fingers here, my ring finger and my small finger, were amputated from my hand, only hanging on my small finger by a little piece of flap of skin, and this one was amputated back here at the knuckle. The machete pretty much went in on an angle the whole way into the center of my hand. And on my arm, I was struck here, and I have a deep cut into my arm here, but it did not hit the artery. I was struck so many times here in my wrist area. The ulna bone, which is the smaller of your 2 bones, was cut twice in a very close proximity to each other, so there were 2 cuts right next to each other. I had lots of bruises and just minor cuts on my shoulders and the rest of my body, but nothing significant there. But I lost 50% of my blood at my school that day, and that's a lot. That's a lot. I was kind of blipping in and out of shock because of that.
Yeah, once again, I can't believe how you were able to do everything that you did do. How have you healed emotionally?
So the cognitive and emotional, and I would add spiritual piece to that, is more difficult than the physical healing. When you're going through physical injuries and healing from that, it's a concrete thing. You know, you get to a point when there's really nothing more that can be done, and then you have to adapt to that. But when you're talking about the cognitive, the way you think about things, the emotions, the way you feel about them, and then the spiritual, you know, why me, what ifs, those kinds of things, those kind of go on for a lifetime. And I had to work hard at kind of coming out of that and getting a better attitude, and then finally being resilient from what had happened. I could have easily wanted to go into a hole and just sit forever, but that's not living then. So you really have to work hard at kind of getting back to some sense of new normalcy.
How did you find that your faith really helped carry you through that journey?
Oh, 100%. My faith was very important to me. I talk to God all the time about this event, about the things that I do now since the event. Ask for a lot of guidance, a lot of wisdom, a lot of help and courage to get through it. And it took me probably about 10 years of counseling to be able to overcome the emotional and cognitive piece and the spiritual piece. And God and I had some conversations, and we talked about it. But, you know, you can get through things if you work hard at it.
And part of getting through it was writing a letter to the attacker. Tell us about that.
So on October the 2nd of 2006, Nickel Mines in Lancaster, which is about an hour from my home, happened in their one-room schoolhouse. An intruder went in and shot all 10 of the girls, left the boys go, shot all 10 of the girls. They lost 6 of their daughters that day, and 6 were critically injured. The next day on television, I watched the procession of the Amish community in their buggies heading toward the families of the intruder, his mother and father, his wife and children, and his in-laws. And they went to offer their condolences, their sympathies. They offered food, and they offered comfort and forgiveness. And when I saw that, I thought, if they can forgive this man who intruded into their one-room schoolhouse for what he did, I can certainly do that and forgive the intruder that came into my school. And so I worked hard at that for about 3 years. It took me, I had to go through a mediation process to be able to, I wrote a letter, and I just wanted it delivered to him so that he knew that I forgave him. And in my letter, I basically just said, I forgive you for what you did to my students, to my staff, and for what you did to me personally. I also had 6 questions I was hoping that he would answer. He was the only one that had the answer to the questions that I wanted to know. He refused to read my letter. He said he would never read it, and that I was basically worthless as a human being to him. So he didn't read my letter that I know of, and he passed away in 2023. However, forgiveness, for me, forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. And after I forgave him, I could kind of release that barrier of what I was carrying with me, and move through life in a better way.
By setting this example, by forgiving him, how do you hope this helps, inspires others to do the same?
Well, just like the Amish community inspired me to forgive, I hope that people can understand that when you forgive someone for something, it is something that you can use in your life to move forward, and you are calmer, your soul feels better. And it's not condoning what is done, and it's not understanding it or believing that it's okay. It's just forgiving it.
What is the reaction that you received from the students and from the teachers that were there when they saw that you said, I am forgiving him? What was their reaction?
The community at my school was always a very supportive community, and they are just phenomenal people, and they have always had a huge respect for not only myself, but my entire staff. It took a whole staff of teachers and support staff to get through this. And we did it together, and the community was right there with us, supporting us 100% of the way. And so when I forgave him, I think it was, for them, it was just a natural progression, and they understood the importance of that.
And how do you find that the students that were involved in that kindergarten class and the teachers, how have they healed?
We spent initially a lot of time bringing in like people who were professional in understanding trauma for young children. And so we would have open houses for the parents of the kindergartners to try to help them understand how to best help their children. So we worked hard at that as a school and a school district. We had many of those sessions that the parents understood what they needed to look for and kind of watch for through time. These kiddos were kindergartners, and so we had them in my school for 6 years, and that was a blessing, because my teachers could then watch them carefully also, and if they saw anything that would crop up that needed attention, they would contact their families, and then the families would take it from there. Any interventions they might need, the school district certainly gave out lots of resources for interventions.
Well, you certainly set the tone and how people should react to something like this.
Well, it's not easy. I won't say it's an easy journey, but it's a necessary journey, because you have to keep living, and you have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you become resilient. No one is exempt from trauma in their lives. We are all going to have traumatic things happen and challenging things happen to us at various levels, but we can get through it, and I'm a good example of that, I hope.
Well, you are, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Norina returned as principal at the elementary school 2 months after the attack and worked there as the principal for 14 more years.
Turning pain into purpose. Norina's experience inspired her to write a memoir, Glorious Sadness, Faith, Love, Hope, Trump's School Attack.
It shares her survival story and the lessons she learned from this attack. And so you wrote a memoir. Here is the book right here, Glorious Sadness, Faith, Love, Hope, Trump's School Attack. Tell us about it.
Yes, I've always known from the day this event happened or shortly thereafter that I would write a book someday about it. I didn't know when, I didn't know what that would look like or who it would be for, but I knew it was important to write a book. And I think that's the educator in me, you know. Educators, we try to give knowledge to people. So I have learned so much about trauma and healing, perspective, loss. It just goes on and on and on. And so I put it in words, and my hope is that people can benefit from it in some way. I just think that the fact that I survived that day, there's got to be more to my life out there, and so I don't want to miss it. And so when you think of Glorious Sadness, the title, it has a specific meaning for me. Sadness, of course, is, you know, all of the hurt and the pain and the suffering that you go through when you have sadness. And the term glorious, though, means above all else, of highest significance, of high honor. When you think of it in a biblical sense, it means in the presence of God. And there's no better title than I can think of than that huge sadness that we all felt and had to work through, but it was in the presence of God. And that is why my book is so important for that title, Glorious Sadness, where faith, love, and hope did Trump's school attack. We went through some very difficult things, but we did overcome it, and I think we did it together in the best way we could.
And tell us about the book, as far as there's guidance in there and suggestions for people.
I did put different sections of things in there that I would hope could help different organizations. For instance, there is a whole chapter on lessons that we learned from our lockdown drills and our reunification of the students to their families. We made mistakes, but we learned from those mistakes. And if organizations just read that one chapter, I think it could help them keep their places safer. And they could put some things in place that maybe they didn't think of because they never really went through this experience. But that's in there. I have a whole section for the morning kindergarten class that were 5- and 6-year-old children when this happened. They're now 30, 31-year-old adults. And I asked them if they wanted to answer some questions, and 12 of them responded yes. And so their answers are in this book in a very general way. So I think that's a rare opportunity to have. And, you know, just the whole idea of divine intervention, there's just so much in the book about the divine intervention that I felt in those very quick 25 minutes of what happened to me in my experiences that day. And at the back of my book, I even put a whole series of questions from each chapter for book clubs, if they wanted to do my book for their book club. They could do that, and the questions are right there for them. They can just sit and discuss and try to make the world a better place for everybody.
What do you hope people take away when reading this book?
I really hope people think long and hard about the fact that, again, we're all going to have challenging, adverse situations that happen on our lives throughout time, but with a lot of hard work, with a lot of hope, and a lot of changing of your attitude to a different side of things, looking for a peace that is better than what you had to deal with, and then kind of continuing on in life. It can be done. It is hard work, but it can be done. And I hope that people can read about that, how I did that, and see that I'm a good example of the fact that you can change your attitude, and then you can move forward and keep living life the way it should be.
And God can carry you through these difficult journeys.
God can be with you 100%. You never have to go through anything alone.
So well said. Norina, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
Norina won an International Book Award for this memoir. It's now available on Amazon. And we want to thank you for watching this special edition of Morning Light.
Be sure to check on your neighbors, pray for our troops, and we'll look for you again soon.